Mobile RPGs can be pretty intimidating when you're new to the genre, and Raid Shadow Legends is certainly no exception. A lot of players might even say it's more overwhelming than most, as over the years it's been expanded into a pretty massive game. With probably somewhere around 1,000 champions in the game and more being added on a very regular basis, several dungeons, some of which have hard modes that change the mechanics significantly, Doom Tower, multiple PvP modes, Curse City, and much more in the game. It's very easy to feel like you're just spinning in circles and not getting anywhere. So today, I'm going to take it all the way back to the very beginning, starting with the absolute basics, and tell you everything you need to know to prevent yourself from getting lost and making some potentially account-ruining mistakes, so that you can play the game without worrying that you're wasting your time, resources, and potentially your money, and progress with a clear conscience. This video is going to be broken up into sections so that you can come back and reference it as needed using the timestamps down below or just scrolling to it in the playhead on YouTube. As I said, I'm taking it back to the absolute basics, the very beginning, so that I can help even the newest of players understand what's going on and progress through the game. So if you already feel like you're a little bit ahead of the curve, feel free to jump ahead as necessary. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it by talking about selecting your starting champion. The overwhelming consensus for the best starter champ in the game among players is definitely Kayle, and the reason for this is that he has poisons in his kit, and the reason that matters is because he's going to help you a lot in clan boss, and just generally dealing with bosses is going to be a little bit easier with him. Now, having said that, if you like one more than the other, this is not a decision that's going to really hinder your account in a major way. You're not going to block yourself out of anything or ruin your account. You're not setting yourself up for failure by not picking Kayle here. So you can pick whoever you like because you're ultimately going to outgrow them anyway, no matter who you pick. Kayle's just going to give you access to a little bit more of the game a little bit sooner, so he's generally the way to go. But again, don't put too much pressure on this. If you like one more than Kayle and you want to go with them, go with them. So for the sake of this, we're going to select Kayle and jump into a new account. So I'll see you there. So here we are in our brand new account. If you started an account with this video, we are sitting on the same screen right now after you've selected your starter champ and gone through the quick tutorial that the game takes you through. So you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at. I'm going to be sliding myself around a little bit down here to show you everything that there is to see. But immediately, as we talked about at the beginning of this, it can be a little bit overwhelming. There are red dots everywhere. There's tons of different things to click on, tons of different places to go. So I just want to kind of give you a quick layout of what you're looking at, and then we're going to talk about what kinds of things you need to be paying attention to, what kinds of things you can ignore for a while, and all of that. All right. So first thing you want to do is you can kind of just go through and start clearing out these red dots. Clearing out red dots is going to be a big part of this game for you. So basically, you just let the red dots guide you. You go where they take you. So here, I want you to change your avatar. If you want to do that, you can. That red dot will be gone. Referral program, you're going to have to click on every day unless you fill this up. We'll talk about this a little bit later. Basically, it's just copying a link and sending it to someone and getting them to start an account. But there's a little bit more to it than that later on if you want there to be. So that's not a big deal. This is your tab that you're going to click on to do a few things. One, it's where your daily login rewards are. Every day that you log in, you get a reward. You see it's labeled out very clearly, day 1, day 2, day 3, up to day 30. And then there are several different calendars as you go. So this is your first 30 days. This is your second 30 days, third 30 days. And then it starts to break up into some bigger increments. All the way to 9 months of playing. After 9 months, you'll get this Void Legendary Champ. And then it switches over to the 271 plus days version of the calendar, where it just kind of repeats this with fragments for different champions as you obtain them. Okay. So you're going to get something every day you log in just for logging in. Sometimes it's going to be pretty good. A lot of the time it's going to be pretty not good. But that's the nature of a daily login calendar in a mobile game. So that's your daily login calendar. Beyond that, you've got your new player rewards. Depending on when you're creating an account, this might look a little bit different, but it's the same principle. There's a champion you're going to get after 7 days of logging in, and they're generally going to give you some gear leading up to it. Sometimes they will swap this epic out for a legendary during some event or something, and so those are really nice. But if you're creating an account while that's not going on, this is probably what you'll be looking at. This lifesteal gear, which we're going to talk about gear a little bit later as well, is going to go on your starter champ as you acquire. This is going to help your starter champ do the things that a starter champ needs to do. So for us, it's going to be Kayle, okay? So that's your new player rewards. You have progression rewards, where certain level milestones, you're going to get these rewards. Again, a lot of the time, they're not really going to be too great, but every now and then there's something pretty cool in here. Talk about more about what all this stuff is later. And when I say your account level, I'm talking about this little number right up here. This is your account level. This will go up as you play the game. As you level up champs, as you progress through campaign, you're accumulating experience not only for your champions, but for your account as well. So your account level will go up to 100. 100 is the max level for an account in Raid Shadow Legends. Here you've got your Plarium Points program. This is going to be something you can pretty much ignore unless you're going to be spending a lot of money in the game. Plarium Points are pretty much a reward that you get when you spend money on certain packs. And there's a reward path to unlock this champion. I would not worry too much about this unless you are planning to come into this game and spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. That is probably not going to be very relevant to you. You'll occasionally get a red dot. You'll need to go in there and collect a reward and clear it, because every now and then you'll get Plarium points from something that's not spending money, but it's pretty much for spending money, okay? Promo codes. This is where you'll come and enter promo codes. Let's go ahead and talk about some promo codes. As far as I know, the promo code Monkey King works as long as you use it within the first 48 hours of creating an account. So let's test that out right now. It's taking a second to give it to us. That's weird. Usually it pops up what you get for it. I don't know if it worked that time. Let's try that again, because you also usually go on cooldown after using it. Okay, for some reason that's not working for us. I don't really know why. Maybe it doesn't work anymore. But anyway, that's where you'll go put promo codes. I was going to try to show you that one so that you could get Sun Wukong, who's a really good legendary. But I guess it's not working. So a good idea is to just Google like active raid promo codes. I know Ash stays pretty on top of promo codes. Hellhades.com, I think, stays pretty on top of promo codes. There's places to go to see, and there's some that you can use within the first 48 hours that are usually pretty decent. You can get a legendary, you can get an extra champ, you can get some rewards. If you are playing on iPhone or iOS, you won't have a promo code tab. You actually have to go online. So if you just Google like Raid iOS promo code, you'll have to enter it there. For some reason, they have some weird thing going on with Apple where you can't do that. Here's where you'll get all your news for the game. This is where they announce what's going on in the game. You'll generally just come in here and click mark as read and be done with it. But it tells you about summon events that are coming up, fusions, whatever other events they're doing. This is where all of that information will be. When there's going to be a free gear removal, things of that nature. So it's a pretty good tab to stay on top of. You'll have a red dot on the Call of the Arbiter series. Basically, if you want to go watch it, you can. I heard it's very good. I have not watched it. But what you do want to do is you want to come into the tab, click on an episode, click share trailer, click copy, and then you don't have to do anything with it. Then you can just collect the rewards. Then you'll go next episode, share, copy, collect your rewards. Next episode, share, copy, collect your rewards. Do this until you've gone through all the episodes. Get all of your rewards. It's a lot of really great stuff for a brand new account. It's going to be pretty helpful, okay? FAQ and guides. If you want to come in here and read up on the game, they explain a lot of the stuff in written form here. You can, list of buffs and debuffs, things of that nature. So you can come in here and snoop around in there if you want to. Maybe you want more detail on something I've touched on in this video. Maybe you don't want to watch the rest of this video and you'd rather just go read it. It's there. And then purchase rewards. They've recently implemented this. When you spend certain amounts of money, you get a little reward pack for spending the money. So that's everything that you need to know about in that tab. Really, all you'll mess with in here on a pretty regular basis is your daily login rewards, promo codes as they come out, and the news tab. Those are going to be the big things that you worry about there. Here, again, just some new player rewards. Might as well click on that and grab those. Shop. It says you've got something for free. So we've got a goodie bag pack. Every day they're going to give you a little pack, some similar to this. Sometimes it'll have energy. Sometimes it'll have stuff like this. You just claim it. And then when you claim a gift, it's going to go to your inbox. And your inbox is this little treasure chest up here, okay? And then there's all the stuff that we just got. So you just collect, collect, collect. It tells you what the item is. It tells you where it came from. And it tells you how long until it expires. When it expires, it just leaves the account. So if we don't claim this arena refill in 6 days, it'll just disappear. And we can't claim it right now because we have full arena tokens. So it's telling you you're going to waste some if you claim this. So usually you'll claim these when you run out of arena tokens. Try to do another battle. It'll say, would you like to use a refill? Which is pretty nice. Okay. So that's your inbox. Anytime you get something and you don't know where it went, if you got a new champion from a promo code, if you got resources from something, if you can't find it, it's probably in your inbox. Okay. Moving along the line of just the red dots, you've got your quest tab. This is a very important tab for you as a new player. This is going to help you have some direction on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, okay? You want to make sure that you do your dailies every day. When you hear someone talk about doing their dailies, this is what they're talking about. Clicking on the quest tab, coming to the daily tab, and doing whatever all of these tasks are. The reason that this is important is, one, because it's going to bounce you around the game a little bit and get you familiar with some of the things that you're going to be doing regularly. But two, you have this weekly tab where you have a set of weekly quests, one of which is claim the reward for completing all daily quests 5 times. So you want to do your dailies every day so that you can claim this as often as possible, so that you can claim this as often as possible, because here you have 500 XP and an ancient shard. You want to do this because in the monthly tab, same principle. You have monthly quests that are going to take you a little bit longer to do, but one of them is claim the reward for completing all daily quests 30 times. So if you do your daily quests every day, you're basically getting a sacred shard and a void shard just for playing the game every day. You're getting a monthly void and sacred just for playing the game every day. Sacred shard is how you summon epic champions and legendary champions. That's the 2 that can drop from this rarity of shard. So it's a pretty valuable shard. Void shard drops void champions. It's basically the same as an ancient shard, which is the blue shard, except it just drops void champions, which are much rarer and harder to come by, and generally speaking, stronger. That is not always the case, but that is where you get your void champ. So for just playing the game, getting this free monthly sacred and void shard just by doing your dailies is very necessary. So I would highly recommend that every day you're making sure that you do these dailies before they reset and staying on top of your weekly and monthly quests, okay? Beyond that, at level 35, you'll get an advanced quest tab where you can get a legendary book as you complete all the tasks. We can't even look at it until we're level 35. It'll be a minute till you hit level 35, but when you get there, same principle, jump into the tab and snoop around, see what kind of stuff you think you can do. One cool thing about the quest tab is that one of them is summon 3 champions. I can just click go and it takes me straight to the summoning portal, and I can summon. For the summon 3 champs, you can just summon your green shards. I wouldn't bother summoning the actual valuable shards for that quest every day. Just go through your green shards, okay? And then you've got an achievements tab, which once you finish them, it will go away. So we can claim this one and this one, and then basically, again, change your username. It's just kind of sending you around the game to do stuff that you need to learn how to do. So go through that, and the achievements tab will disappear. Moving right along, we have the challenges tab. This is another pretty important tab as a new player. This is going to guide you through different parts of the game and kind of get you prepared for what you're going to be doing. It's going to be having you do some repetitive farming. It's going to be having you progress through arena and doing some different things in arena. It's going to have you progress through your dungeons. So it's just kind of preparing you for all of the main parts of the game, right? Arena is a pretty significant part of the game. Your dungeons are a very important part of the game. Your artifacts are crucial to your progress. And then obviously your champions are also crucial. So it's just kind of dipping your toes in the water of all the different things you're going to be doing in the game. So let these guide you through, help you get familiar with the game. And as you progress through them, the rewards actually get better. There's some pretty decent rewards in here. Some of them are brutal. Some of them are going to have you farming the same campaign stage over and over, looking for a specific piece of gear to drop. It can be aggravating, but again, it's preparing you for what's to come in the game. So your challenges and quest tabs, I would stay in pretty heavily. Real quick, I'm going to slide myself back over and open the missions tab. The missions tab is also very important. All 3 of those tabs down there are very important. These are your arbiter missions. When you hear someone talk about your arbiter missions, this is what they're referring to. This is a linear path of missions that's going to guide you to this void legendary champ that's the arbiter. She's really, really good. She'll be very good for you by the time you get her. Maybe perhaps not as good as she used to be, but that's not as important. She's still very good. She's going to be very helpful for you. And it's kind of a big milestone to be working for. And you can only do them one at a time. Some of them are retroactive. Some of them, if you do them prior, they'll be done when you get to them. But it's a good idea to just let them guide you, okay? So clear stage 7 of K-Rock Castle on normal. That's a campaign stage. So when we get into the actual battle tab, we'll talk about that. But these 3 tabs, the missions, quests, and challenges tabs, are very important. Be in them often. Let these be what guides you through the game, okay? They're going to help you bounce around and gain a little bit of understanding about what you're doing, all right? The clans tab, it won't be super important to you for a minute, I don't think. I think it's a minute till you can join a clan. It's telling me I can join one now, so maybe not. I thought there was a level requirement to join a clan, but it's a good idea to get into a clan. Being in a clan is very important for a couple of reasons, and we'll talk about those as we go, but you might as well just hop into a clan now. I have a section in my Discord where there's people constantly recruiting for their clans. So if you want to find an active community, a lot of them are very welcoming for new players. And it's a great idea to get plugged into a clan because then you have people that you're in a clan with that you can ask questions and get some advice from. And that will be going on for a long time. It will be a long time before you're an expert at the game, okay? The index, really just the red dot simulator. This is all the champions in the game. This is all the factions. And then if you click on the faction, you can go and look at all of the champions. So if you want to familiarize yourself with, maybe you see someone in arena and they wipe your team and you want to understand what it is that they do that makes them so strong, you can come into the index and find them and read their skills and learn a little bit about why what they're doing was so effective, right? And it shows you what they look like at max level with what their base stats will be and all of that. And then you just go through and read their skills, right? So this is it. Every time you get a new champion, you're going to get a red dot in the index. So for us, Kale was a new champion. So we have a red dot on Kale. You have to come in and click on him and then back out. And that's how you get rid of the red dot. It's going to be pretty annoying for a while, but as your account grows and you accumulate more champs, you'll be getting red dots there less and less frequently. It won't be quite as annoying. But as a new player, get ready. You're going to be clearing a lot of red dots from there. Your champions tab. This is your roster. This is where all of your champions are going to be. Right now, we only have the 2, right? We got Kale from selecting him, and then we summoned her in the tutorial. These are our only 2 champions right now. As you play the game and summon more shards, you'll accumulate more champions, and this will fill in. As it fills in, you'll need to expand it, and this will get more and more expensive as you go to a pretty unreasonable degree, honestly, but there's not much we can do about it, so you just kind of have to gauge how important it is for you to expand versus how important those resources are as you progress. I would say for the first few, just dump some silver into it, get yourself up to, right now you're at 30, I would say get yourself up to, 70, 80 slots is a pretty comfortable amount for a beginner. While you're working through your food. And then again, as you go, you'll need to start expanding more. You also have a vault. You actually have 2 vaults now where you can click on champions and move them into the vault if you don't plan on doing anything with them. So if you want to have food ready, maybe you've got champs that you're just going to place on the back burner for now, whatever it may be. Maybe you're just keeping copies of champs in case they ever get buffed or something. Talk about all that later. You can move them into the vault. You can also expand the vault. I would not prioritize expanding my vault over just expanding my roster, though. Roster space is going to ultimately be better, but you will eventually come in here and expand your vault as well. And then the reserve vault, same principle, but you can't access them in the reserve vault. So master vault is basically champ box 2.0. You can still access some of your champs from the vault in different content. If you put them in the reserve vault, you can't. They're hidden away until you pull them out of here, okay? So you can, I don't really do much with it, to be honest, but it's there if you wanted to use it. Over here, you've got your playtime rewards. None of them are particularly great. The energy refill is pretty nice, but basically as you are logged in for these increments of time, you will get these rewards. And then again, here's some of the Plarium points we were talking about. But these are really going to come from buying packs that have them in them. So either way, come in here and grab your rewards. Free stuff is free stuff. And 3 hours. 3 hours a day is what you have to play to get to this energy refill if you care to have it. Up to you. Beyond that, you've got up here your energy, how much energy you have. Energy is how you do dungeons and campaign stages. Here's your silver. This is how you upgrade your gear and, as you saw, expand your roster and things of that nature. And then these are your diamonds. These are kind of the premium currency in the game. So this is what you'll use. You could also expand your roster with these, as you saw, but you'll be using these to refill your energy mostly. There is a shop where you can spend these gems on other stuff. A lot of people, I think, will spend them on shards. I would advise that you do not do that on a regular basis. Sometimes it might be nice if you want to keep your sanity and have a little fun. But ultimately, the best thing to do with your gems is an energy refill. And the higher the level of your account, the more efficient that spend will be. Right now, we don't have much max energy because we're such a low level. But as you level up, your energy cap goes up. And the gems that you're spending on energy refills would be more efficient. The good news is, as a new player, you're going to get tons of energy dumped on you, so it's going to be a while before you need to spend gems on an energy refill. We're switching over now to my account so that I can show you all of the buildings in the Bastion and actually go into them, and you can visually see what I'm explaining as I'm explaining it. So we're just going to quickly go through everything that you're looking at here, and then we're going to get into the actual meat of the game where you're going to begin playing, and we're going to talk about your first goals and all that stuff. All right, so first things first, you have the summoning portal. This is where you're going to get your dopamine and your heartbreak. This is where a lot of stuff's going to happen for you. Some of you are going to have some amazing things happen in here, and some of you are really not. So your mystery shard, this is basically your food shard, where you'll occasionally pull a rare champion. Your ancient shard is kind of the baseline premium shard. You get rares, epics, and legendaries from this. Nothing below a rare. And this will be kind of the most common shard for you to acquire that has any real value, right? The mystery shard, you'll have thousands of these at some point, but they're not super valuable overall. Ancient shards are fairly valuable. Void shard, same rates and principle as an ancient shard, except this is how you get void champions, all right? So same rates, all of it applies same as an ancient shard, but this is where you get your void champions, who again are generally stronger than regular champions, and some of you are going to have some crazy stuff happen with your void shards as well. Primal shard is a shard that Plarium deems pretty valuable, but the players mostly refer to as a red ancient TM. I'll copyright that one. It is the only way to get a mythical champion from a shard, but it's very rare, and you're almost certainly just going to pull rares from it anyway. So you can get rare, epic, legendary, or mythical, but most of the time it's just going to be rares. So I would not place the value on this shard. My recommendation to you as a newer player is I would not place the value on the shard that Plarium places on this shard. If you are someone who's going to spend money, I would not expect great things from this shard. Now, you can't hit the jackpot if you don't pull the lever. That's of course true, but just be aware, buying one of these shards is not going to guarantee you a mythical champion, all right? So just be aware of that. Sacred shard, a very premium shard. The worst you can do here is an epic with the best chance at a legendary. When you're a new player, your rates will be different. You can click on this little eye if you're curious about what the actual rates are on all the shards. So you can see right now we have a 2x ancient shard event going on, which means that the rates are doubled for epics and legendaries. So currently we have a 16% chance to get an epic and a 1% chance to get a legendary. So from a mathematical standpoint, you summon 100 of these right now, you should mathematically get a legendary. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. But you see a sacred shard is 6% base. And then sometimes they will do 2x sacreds where it'll be 12%. So then you're fairly likely to get a legendary, right? Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's fairly likely, okay? Beyond that, you have your fusion tab. Not something I would be too worried about right now. Your missions and stuff will lead you here at some point, and you'll worry more about this as you've progressed into the game a little bit. Fragment summon, you'll acquire fragments for different champions through various methods in the game. This is where you'll come to summon them. And then remnant summon is something that I would not be concerned with for a while. This is from Cursed City, which is content that I'm going to suggest that you ignore for a while. We'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? Moving down, you have the gem mine. Gem mine basically generates passive premium currency for you in the game. It'll hold up to 15 at a time at max level. It costs 500 gems per level to upgrade it, and there are 3 upgrades. So it is a 1,500 gem investment that will eventually pay for itself and then be profit for the rest of the time that you play this game. In my opinion, it's a good idea to do this as quickly as possible because the quicker you do it, the quicker it pays for itself, the more you get out of it long term. Some people disagree with that, but do with that what you will. You have the market. This is where you will see 1 and 2 star champions, green shards, gear, and the occasional ancient shard. I think you can see up to 5 ancient shards per month in here before they'll stop showing up for the month. And as you're progressing as a new player, I would recommend every time you see a green shard in here, you buy it just to get the pile going, because even though those are not premium shards, they're pretty valuable for you in the way of accumulating food. And then some summon events, you can use them to kind of finish off a milestone or something. Wouldn't worry too much about that right now. Also, too, the gear. You will hit a point where you outgrow any gear you'll ever see in this shop. But as a newer player, as you're progressing, sometimes you'll see some pretty nice stuff in here. So it's a good idea to keep an eye out for pieces of gear. Also, I think as a new player, you're going to have either these bottom 8 or bottom 6 tabs locked behind silver and gems. So as you progress and you feel good about the amount of those currencies that you have, you can unlock your tabs. Generally speaking, the sooner the better, but there doesn't have to be a huge hurry on those, okay? Moving right along, we have the Great Hall. The Great Hall is where you will get passive bonuses to the stats of everybody in your account. And you get this exclusively through playing Arena. As you win arena fights, you'll generate these medals, and these medals are the currency that you use to upgrade these, okay? So for example, we chose Kale as our starter champion. Kale is a magic champ. So if we wanted to bump his attack passively, independently of his gear, we can come in here and level up magic attack. And this will give him an extra passive bonus to his damage, depending on how high we level it up. And that applies to all content in the game. Okay, so this is pretty important. This is a pretty important thing to do. And it's a very, 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 very long-term investment. So it's going to take you a long time to get this up to speed. But it's a good idea to get started on it and be aware of it ASAP. The Forge, not something I would be particularly worried about. I don't think you even unlock it until somewhere around level 30 or something. But it's where you craft gear. It's where you craft gear sets that you can't really farm from the regular dungeons, okay? And it's generally speaking, stronger versions of regular gear. So we'll talk more about the Forge as we go. Not something I'd be super concerned with at this moment. Same with the Altar of Souls. This is where you're going to get blessings, awakenings for your champ, which allows you to put blessings on them. I don't even think you unlock this until level 42, so it's not something we're even going to bother talking about right now because there's no sense in overloading you with stuff that doesn't matter. So the Forge and Altar of Souls, just forget about right now. The Tavern is where you will be upgrading levels, upgrading ranks, upgrading skills, and ascending. Let's talk about what all that means. Upgrading level is this number in the bottom right. This is the level of the champion. As the level gets higher, they get stronger. Their base stats go up. Level 1-star champions, star refers to the rank. 1-star champions can go up to level 10, 2-star champions can go to 20, 3-star champions to 30, and so on up to 6-star, okay? So the final form of a champion is 6-star level 60. Again, rank refers to their stars. So you'll come in here to upgrade the rank of your champions. We'll talk more about making food later, but rank is referring to their star rating. Level is referring to their number level. Skills, upgrading their skills. All champions have a set of skills, and all of them have different amounts of skill ups they can receive. So for example, this champ has a skill called cryotherapy. Its cooldown is 5 turns. If we put books in it, we can get the cooldown reduced to 3 turns, which means he can use it more frequently, okay? And you'll use these skill books to do that. We're going to talk more about what all that means later too, okay? But that's where you skill up your champions. And then Ascension is the purple stars. A lot of the time, a champion will have a skill that's grayed out until they are at 3-star Ascension. Once you get them to their 3rd Ascension level, it'll unlock a skill or modify a skill that they have. A lot of champions have that going on. And it also just kind of makes them stronger, makes their stats better. It's generally something that you're going to want to do for every champ that you plan to use. And you do this through getting affinity potions from the potion keeps. We will talk more about that later. But the tavern is where a lot of your champion upgrading takes place. That's pretty much the gist of it. A lot of your food taking and champion upgrade. I'm sorry, food making and champion upgrading takes place in the tavern. Okay. The Guardian Ring. I would not worry too much about the Guardian Ring beyond the sparring pit. When you unlock it, dump a champ into the sparring pit, preferably a food champ, and just let them get passive experience while you do other stuff in the game, okay? I wouldn't worry too much about dumping gems into the other slots. The first slot's free, and I wouldn't even bother upgrading it. Let me move myself over so you can see what I'm talking about. I wouldn't bother upgrading. I wouldn't bother expanding slots. You certainly can. Some people will advocate very hard for this. I don't use it that much, so I don't advocate very hard for it. But if you wanted to invest the gems in it, go for it. There's that. There's also faction guardians, empower champions, a lot of other things in here that we will talk about a little bit later. But I would say everything here and down you can ignore for now, because you got a lot of information coming your way. You've got a lot of stuff to think about. So I wouldn't get too caught up in that. And that's it. That's a quick tour of all of the buildings, quote unquote, in the Bastion, which is this screen right here. So now we've covered all of the buttons and tabs and all of the buildings. If you need to go back and listen to any of the explanations again, feel free to do that. But now we're going to move on to the battle tab and actually getting into playing the game and talking about what you need to be trying to accomplish as a new player, what some of your first goals are going to be, and what you should be working toward. All right, we're back on the brand new account so that I can show you in a way that'll look familiar to you what it is you're going to be doing from here. So again, we're fresh out of the tutorial. We have our Kale. We literally haven't done anything else. So now that we've talked about what all these buttons are and what all these buildings are, we're going to click the battle tab. Everything's going to be locked for you as a new player. You'll see what level you're going to unlock all these things. You'll unlock these dungeons at level 6. And then it just kind of bounces around. Dungeons and Arena come at level 6. Faction Wars comes at 20. Clan Boss comes at 17. And then these, which it's going to be a little bit before you can do these anyway. So all we can do right now is the campaign. So we're going to jump into the campaign. It's going to start us off in K-Rock Castle. And you'll see when we click it, each area of the campaign has these 7 stages. So if we start to scroll over, you see there's going to be 12 chapters, so to speak, of the campaign. They're all going to have 7 stages. They're all formatted the same way. So let's talk a little bit about what you're looking at here. You'll notice it's stage 1 through 7, and there's a picture of a piece of gear next to each stage. That means that only this gear will drop from here, can drop from here. Now, when you unlock dungeons, you can get better quality of all the same gear. But this is where you come if you need something specific. So let's say I need a weapon from a life set just to complete a set. I would come to stage 1 K-Rock Castle and farm it until I got that weapon. All right? It's never going to be great gear from the campaign, but you're going to have to use it as filler gear. So if your champion is ever lacking a piece of gear from a specific set, this is where you come get it. You're also looking at an idea of who you're going to be fighting. And then stage 7 is always a boss stage, all right? The interesting thing about stage 7 is that any of the pieces of gear from the rest of the stages can drop here. And in the higher levels, it's where you can potentially drop a little bit of higher quality gear. So for example, you'll never get a rare piece of gear, which will have a blue border from one of the stages, but you can get it from the boss stage. Now, it's not really advisable to farm the boss stages for pieces of gear, as it's so broad, you might as well just hit the dungeons up. But it's the information's there for you to be had if you like it. So basically what you're doing as a new player is trying to get through the campaign. Your goal is to get through this campaign. When you beat it on normal, it's going to switch to hard. When you beat it on hard, it's going to switch to brutal, brutal to nightmare. So there's 4 difficulties of the campaign. It's the same thing. It just scales up and gets stronger, and the level of the gear that drops gets higher, things of that nature. The rewards get better. But basically what you want to be doing is pushing through the campaign, right? So that's what we're going to do. And it'll guide you through. Make sure when you're doing this that you have this X2 on, because if you switch it to X1, they move this slow. And it's almost like the game is moving in slow motion. So make sure this is on ×2 speed so that you don't waste your life away doing this. And then it's really not a bad idea to have it on auto, okay? Auto means they're going to just automatically use their skills as they see fit, and it's how the majority of this game is going to be played. Your goal is going to be to build teams that can auto most of the content in this game, because playing it actively is incredibly time consuming. All right. So from here, we'll just go next stage. We'll keep it going. Eventually, the amount of champions we can have on our team is going to expand. And then again, you're just going to continue to hit next stage until you can't anymore. And then when you hit your first wall, let's talk about what you need to do when you hit your first wall once we get out of this stage. So let's say we failed there. If we failed there, it's simply because our champions aren't strong enough. So we would want to come to our champion tab and figure out why they're weak and what we can do to fix it. Now, our Kale, he's a very low level, first of all. He has no ascensions. If you remember, we talked about he has no purple stars. So he's not getting the stronger version of his skill. You see here, he attacks all enemies, fills the turn meter of this champion by 25% for each enemy killed. If he's at 3-star ascended, he has an extra 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit, right? So it gives him some inherent crit rate, which means he's going to be more likely to do more damage. So he's missing that. He's not fully geared at the moment, and his gear is not leveled up, and he doesn't have applicable gear sets, right? He's just got stuff that's been thrown on him. So if we hit a wall and fail, these are the things that we would come and diagnose. He's also not skilled up, right? All of these are gray, which means he's got 0 skill ups in him. So there's extra damage here we could be getting if we skilled him up. There's a better chance to land our poison here if we skill him up. There's a cooldown here and a better chance to land debuffs if we skill him up. So he's going to get stronger from skills. So lots of things to come in and diagnose when you hit a wall. And as you get further and hit walls, you'll have to do this for the entire team that you're using. So it starts to get a little bit more in depth. But generally speaking, it's a gear issue. More often than not, it's going to be a gear issue. So if we come into his gear, we can see those lifesteal boots that we got. We're just going to equip those. And then we might as well, even though these are really bad pieces of gear, we might as well equip them, because when we complete a set, you see we have set info here. We've got 2 sets of life gear on. Each set's giving him a 15% bump to his HP. So it's making him a little bit tankier. He can take hits a little bit better. So now he's got a little bit of speed on his boots. He's got 2 life sets on. If he had failed that last run, we could jump in now, and he probably wouldn't fail it because we made some pretty substantial upgrades, okay? So your goal is to push through the campaign. To piggyback onto that goal, as you hit walls, it's to make your starter stronger. Kale is our starter. Ultimately, you want to get him 6-starred. You want to get him 6-starred and to level 60 with 6 purple stars like we talked about. He is what we're going to refer to as your farmer. So you're going to hear the goal as a new player. You need to 6-star your farmer. That's what it means. It means get Kale up to 6 stars. Because then he's at his strongest. Then you can more easily diagnose whatever problems he might have, because you've eliminated the fact that he's not leveled up and that he's not ranked up. You've eliminated those problems, so you can hone in more easily on it's either that I haven't skilled him up or it's that his gear is not right. You know what I'm saying? So getting your farmer 6-starred is one of the big things that you want to do. Now, I don't know when you unlock it, but there's a tournament that's going to pop up here at some point. I kind of want to progress through the campaign a little bit so that it's there, so that I can show it to you and we can talk about it. So we'll be back in a second. I'm gonna push through the campaign a little bit and see if we unlock that tournament soon. Okay, so that was it. Getting through the first chapter of the campaign, getting through K-Rock Castle, seems to be what we needed to kind of unlock the tournaments tab. So really quickly, we talked about the missions, quest, and challenges tab being very important. We have completed our first mission, which was clear stage 7 of K-Rock Castle. So you come in and collect your reward, takes you to the next mission. Now, equip a champion with 6 artifacts. So we can click it, we can click go. It'll take us back to our champ roster, and we need to throw a piece of gear there for him. We got a whole bunch of gear for completing K-Rock Castle. Now, with Kale being an attack champion, with him being a damage dealer, we want to increase his attack. So what we're going to do is switch him over to this attack gear that the game has given us. And I think we had this earlier that we could have put on him, but it's all good. It's all good. And then we might as well put that on him. Eventually, we're going to replace this gear with that lifesteal gear that the game's giving us for logging in every day for the first 7 days. But for now, this will be fine. But now we've put 6 pieces of gear on him, so this mission's done. So we click it, and so on. You will use this, again, to guide you through the game. It's a fairly long-term goal to get Arbiter, but it's important, and it'll bounce you around the game. You'll learn a lot, and it'll give you some direction. You don't have to wonder what you should be doing. If you're ever at a point where you're like, I don't know what I should be doing right now, check out your missions, quests, and challenges tabs and see if there's anything for you to do in there, okay? Beyond that, this is really what I wanted to talk about. You'll unlock this Tournaments and Events tab. In the Tournaments tab, as a new player, you're going to get put into this new player tournament, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's change our name. I don't know. Raid School. There you go. Now, let's talk about what we're looking at here. This is a tournament tab. There's a tournaments tab and an events tab. Tournaments, you are competing against other players. You will generally get put into a bracket of a certain number of players. The number tends to vary, but this is where you can see the leaderboard for who you're in a bracket with and how many points they've accumulated and what place everybody's in. Over here, you've got milestones for the tournament. These rewards you can earn without having to compete with anyone else. So we just got our energy. If we get 50 points, we'll get 5 green shards. If we get 100 points, we'll get 50,000 silver, and so on. If we get 1,000 points, we'll get 4 pieces of speed set gear, which could be really nice. It is random, so they could be bad or they could be good, but it's worth a shot. Also, if you win, you get an ancient shard. And for a brand new account, ancient shards are going to be huge because you need to expand your champ roster a bit to give you more opportunities to have solutions for the problems that you're going to face as you progress through the game. So trying to win this tournament is not a bad idea. The way that you get points for the tournament, you can click Info, and it'll tell you. Winning arena battles is one way to do it. Raiding dungeons is another way to do it. Beating campaign locations is another way to do it. Right, so basically just progressing through the game, but the big one that we've talked about is pushing through the campaign, which is your top priority as a new player. Push through the campaign until you hit a wall, figure out why you're hitting a wall, go make your starter stronger, so Kale, or whoever it is that you chose, go back and keep pushing the campaign till you hit another wall. When you hit the wall, go back, make their gear better, make their level higher, rank them up, skill them up, things of that nature, okay? But your top priority really is getting all the way through Brutal Campaign. Nightmare Campaign doesn't have to be a big hurry, but you do want to try to get through Brutal as quickly as you can, okay? Not as quickly as you can. It's the first big thing you're trying to accomplish, I should say. You don't have to be in a hurry. You can play this at your own pace, but getting through Brutal Campaign is one of the big things that is first on your list. 6-starring your farmer, and in conjunction with that, getting through Brutal Campaign. You will have an events tab here at some point, maybe when this tournament ends, I don't know, but this is where those things will be. That's stuff that you can worry about a little bit later, right? That's not all super duper important there. So I've alluded to 6-starring your farmer and making food a couple of times. Let's talk about what that means, okay? Let's go ahead and grab just a few extra champs from the green shards just to get them in our pool so I can talk a little bit about what we're doing here with making food. What that means exactly. Hey, we got a rare champ from a green shard early on. How about that? So, the reason that Kale is called your farmer, or that whoever is going to farm campaign for you is called their farmer, is because your farming experience for the rest of your champions. Let's talk about the way experience works in the campaign before we start talking specifically about making food. If we come back into a stage and run through it really quickly, hopefully they do it really quickly. The way that it works is every stage has a certain amount of experience that it's going to distribute to whoever is on your team. Whether they die or not, they're still going to get experience. So when they kill this Valerie, we'll take a look. So for this stage, you notice they both got 1,606 experience. That's because they both got 50% of the total amount to be distributed among the team. Everybody on your team is going to be allotted their percentage of the experience, even if they can't receive it. So for example, if Kale at 3-star gets to level 30, he's at max level for that rank. He can't use any more experience, but it will still allot him his percentage. Okay? When you get to the point where you are in Brutal Campaign and you're farming in Chapter 12, which is where you ultimately want to be farming, you'll run your farmer, Kale, with food champs. So typically 2-star or 3-star champs that are they're fully intended to be used for food. Kale's still going to absorb his experience, but everybody else gets their own experience, right? So that's what it means when I say farming. He's just farming experience for the champs that you're going to be using as food. You'll be doing it quite a bit. It is one of the more common things that you're going to be doing in this game, all right? So there's an allotment of experience that goes up depending on the chapter you're in and the difficulty of the campaign you're farming. Brutal 12-3. So brutal difficulty, chapter 12, stage 3 is generally the best place to do it. That is where most people farm their experience for their champions because shields sell for a little bit more than the rest of the gear. So it's also a pretty decent silver farm as well. So he's farming experience in silver as you do it, okay? Now, when you do that, you're going to come into the tavern and you'll be ranking up the food that you leveled up in campaign. You technically can level them up here too. It is just really not that efficient. You're going to get these brews, which are going to give experience, and they give bonus experience if you use them on the appropriate affinity. So for example, if we use a green brew on Kale, you see he's getting 12,500 experience. If I use a blue brew on him, he's getting quite a bit more. So it's a good idea to match the color to the affinity of the champion, all right? You can do it in here, but it's really not the most efficient way to level up your champions. It's faster, but ultimately much more costly. You'll come in here when champs have max level. So for the sake of what I'm showing you, I'm just going to use a brew to get him to max level. Use 2 brews. So he's ready to be ranked up. You see that now, if I come into the upgrade rank tab, he's got a red dot on him. It means he's ready to be ranked up. The way that you rank up a champ is you feed them basically the amount. How do I phrase this? You feed them the amount of champs per star that they currently have to take them to the next rank. So he is 1 star, ready to be ranked up. That means it'll take 1 star to rank him up to 2 stars, right? And the food that we're feeding him doesn't have to be leveled up. So let's hit upgrade. Now he's a 2-star champion. So now we can take him into the campaign and level him up to level 20, which will be his new max level. And then we'll give him 2 level 1 2-star champions. That'll turn him into a 3-star. We level him up to level 30, which would be his new max level for that rank. We give him 3 level 1 3-stars, turn him into a 4-star, take him to 40, give him 4 level 1 4-stars, turn him into a 5-star. From there, you're not leveling up food beyond 5-star. Your goal is to be making 5-star chickens. The reason we say chickens is because that's what Plarium decided to name the currency that is specifically food, that has no identity, right? He's a chicken. This guy's a chicken, but he's a champion also. His name's Bandit, right? But you're going to be using him as a chicken. So when you hear people talk about chickens, they're just talking about champs that you're using as food. So the goal is to make 5-star chickens so that you can 6-star champions you want to use. So Bandit, for example, we would take him up to where he's 5-star level 1. He would be one of the 5 champs necessary to take our Kale to 6-star once we have Kale at 5-star. So you see it's a very investment-heavy process to 6-star champion. It'll get easier as you go. You'll have a faster farmer. It'll become part of the routine. You'll accumulate chickens from events and things. It won't be quite so bad, but it is a little bit brutal to get the first few 6-stars rolling. So just be aware of that. But that's the general idea of making food. I would avoid doing too much leveling up in the tavern. I would come here to do this is where you're going to do your ranking up. It's not really super efficient to do the leveling up in the tavern, okay? So that's just a quick general approach to making food, all right? Now we're going to move on into mistakes. Just some mistakes to be aware of that you want to make sure you don't make early in an account, because again, they could potentially be devastating. Maybe not account ruining, but very, very costly, very devastating mistakes. One of them is using the wrong champions as food. So if we go into the index and take a look at champions here, you see it's broken up into mythical, legendary, epic, rare, uncommon, and common. Now, common and uncommon champs, despite their name, are all very common. They're all pretty easy to come by. You're gonna see them all the time as you play the game and summon green shards. They're gonna pop up very often in the market. They're not really that hard to come by. So if you use any of them as food, it's not really a big deal because you'll see them again very likely very soon. There are some uncommon champions in the game that are good, that are worth using long term. But again, if you feed them, it's not a huge deal because you'll see them again. They pop up pretty frequently. Rare champions, who usually have a blue border, it's not showing it because we don't have them yet, but if we go to Dark Elves, for example, you see Kale has a blue border. Blue border means rare. Gray border means common. Green border means uncommon. Blue border means rare. Purple border means epic. Gold border means legendary. Red border means mythical. They're just going to keep adding stuff. It's going to go on forever. Rare champions are fairly rare, okay? This is where it could start to get kind of costly if you feed the wrong one. A lot of them are not so great. A lot of them are not super important, but a good handful of them are. And it would be a shame to feed one that maybe could have been good for you for some form of content as you progress through the game, especially void champions. So, a way to avoid making the mistake of feeding the wrong champion is having a few rules set in place. Rule number 1, don't use anything rare and above as food. So when you're ranking up your champions, for example, don't use anything with a blue border as a chicken. Don't use anything with a purple border, a gold border, or a red border, especially as a chicken. All right? Keep at least one copy of rares for now. As you play the game and get more familiar, you'll start to identify champions that you know aren't good, and if you want to go ahead and use them for food, you can. But a good rule of thumb is if it has a blue, purple, or gold border or red border, they are not chickens for now, okay? That way you'll completely avoid it. If you don't know what to do with them, stick them in your vault and just let them sit until you have more knowledge and are more comfortable with the idea of either building them or using them as food, all right? Only feed as chickens commons and uncommons. We talked about how to level them up and rank them up into 3, 4, and 5-star chickens, so just do that, okay? Another really costly mistake is misusing your skill tomes. Skill tomes are the way that we're going to increase the skill level of our champ. So like we talked about, Kale has, interesting. Kale has, as everybody does, a set of skills. And then here's the amount of skill ups that he could use, right? So this would need 5 books. This would need 4 books. This would need 5 books. So that's 14 books that Kale needs to be totally skilled up, all right? Let's talk about the structure of books. You see, as we talked about with champ borders, you've got rare books, epic books, legendary books, and mythical books. Never use an epic book on a rare champion. It will let you. It will let you use a legendary book on an uncommon champ if you want to, I think. Don't do it. Match the rarity of the color of the book to the rarity of the champion. So we don't have any books currently, but blue book to blue border. That's how we know it's good. Purple book to purple border. Red and orange book to orange border, or gold, or whatever. Red and gold book to gold border, right? Beyond that, books are pretty much across the board rare. So it is not a bad idea to ask your clanmates, get into my Discord, which is linked below. Ask if a champion is worth giving skill tomes to until you feel a little bit more comfortable, right? because legendary books are really hard to come by. And some legendaries just don't need the books or aren't worth the books. And it would be a real shame for you to drop 10 books into a legendary when it turns out you shouldn't have done that. So be cautious with your books. Now, what I'll say is, as you get rare books, the game will give you a few rare books as a new player as you progress through your missions and challenges and quests and things of that nature. You can fully max your starter. You can give your starter champion blue books until you can't give them anymore. You can do that with a completely clear conscience. Okay, I would highly advise that you do that. Epic books and legendary books, I would be a little bit more cautious about using because they are much rarer, and you want to make sure that you're utilizing them effectively. So it's a good idea to just ask. And the best place to do that is in a Twitch stream or in a Discord. Doesn't have to be mine, but find one and ask around. There's more than enough people in this community that are very happy to help new players out. So that's it. Not feeding the wrong champions, not misusing skill tomes. And then another quick one I want to throw in is don't be too eager to use your gems on these shards. I know that it's fun. I know that the slot machine aspect of it is a lot of fun. We all love a good dopamine hit, but you're going to be able to do so much more with these gems if you will hang on to them and use them on things like energy refills and roster expansions and things like that. Finishing up your market, investing in your gem mine. There's much better uses of your gems than buying ancient shards. So I would advise that you try to just forget that it's an option. All right. The only reason I'm mentioning it is because I want to tell you to forget it's an option, because it's more often than not just going to be heartbreaking. It's going to be flushing 900 gems down the toilet for a few chickens. You know what I mean? It's not going to be worth it most of the time. So try to refrain. Try to hold off from doing that and use the gems a little bit more effectively. To wrap things up for this section, we're just going to talk about generally what you should be looking to do every day in the game. We've kind of talked about it as we've gone through, but I kind of want to recap it for you and put a little bow on it so that you can hear in a more condensed version what kind of you should be doing every day in the game as you progress. Obviously, pushing campaign, big priority. Beyond that, you want to make sure you're clearing all your red dots. You're gonna get lots of red dots. A lot of us call it Red Dot Simulator for a reason. Just want to clear your red dots, and the reason that you want to clear your red dots on a regular basis is because there's usually rewards, right? We just claimed that and leveled up. There's usually experience and silver and some sort of resource for your account behind these red dots. So just come in, claim all your red dots. And the only time you're not really going to get resources is from the index. And then I don't think that the red dot's ever going to go away on your champion tab because there's always going to be gear to upgrade or masteries to assign or something. So you're just going to have to get used to this red dot for the most part. But all the other red dots, and then maybe this one. I guess, yeah, let's talk about the red dots that aren't going to go away. One, you're going to have a red dot on referral every morning that you log in. Every time the day resets, that's going to be there. You can get rid of it for the day, though. The champions one's probably never going to go away. The portal one is probably never going to go away. You can come in and do this, but every time anything changes in the amount of frags that you have, you're going to have to come do it again. So just accept the red dot on the portal and the champions tab. The rest of them you can get rid of, and there's usually rewards behind them. All right. Beyond that, as far as what you're trying to do every day, you want to be sure that you're coming to your quest tab and doing your dailies. If you have dailies here that are not complete them. You can usually just click go and it'll take you wherever you need to be. So it wants you to beat a clan boss. I'm sorry, not a clan boss, a campaign boss 3 times. So you can go here, back to K-Rock Castle. We know we can beat this boss because we've already done it. We'll come in here, fight him twice, be done with that one. Make sure you're doing your dailies. It's very, very, very important. Beyond that, when you get into a clan and you hit level 17 and unlock clan boss, it is very important that you do clan boss every single day. That you progress as far as you can in clan boss, and that you do as much damage as you can every day to get the top chest on it. We'll talk a little bit more about that. You have a minute till you're level 17 anyway, and that stuff matters. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the series, but clan boss is very important to do every day, especially later in the game. It's arguably the most important thing for you to do every day. It's where a lot of very valuable resources are going to come from. It's very important. And again, we'll talk more about how to approach it later. Beyond that, checking your challenges tab, seeing what's on the agenda, what needs doing, because you can finish these to the point where the challenges tab will disappear. That's your goal, to get rid of the challenges tab by doing all of the challenges. And then also checking your missions tab and seeing what you can do. Sometimes you're going to hit a point where you can't do anything. It's going to want you to farm a potion dungeon that isn't going to be open for 3 days. So there just won't be anything you can do here. But you want to be checking this very regularly and making sure that you're letting it guide you through the game and doing the things that need doing, that are getting you closer to Arbiter. And that's pretty much it. If you are doing those things, if you are focusing on doing your dailies, if you're focusing on pushing through the campaign, if you're making food as you go, and letting your challenges and missions tab guide you, you will be fine. You will not find yourself wondering what to do. You'll have plenty to do. You will be making progress. And as we go through the series, we'll talk a little bit about how to be more deliberate in your direction as you kind of finish up the challenges and get a little bit more depth to the account and everything. So that's going to wrap it up for this section. I hope that this was helpful. I know it's long. They're all probably going to be pretty long, but the goal is, again, to break it down into its simplest form to help even the newest players understand what's going on. So I do hope it was helpful. We'll be back in the next one with some continued progression. If you have any questions or suggestions you would like to drop below, feel free to do so. Other than that, I'm getting out of here. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one.